Some immediate improvements that I've seen in a lot of reports that I've come across. First and foremost, just the structural coherence and the logic of the report that can generally be improved quite quickly. And then we just need to avoid some common pitfalls that undermine the gravitas or how seriously our report is taken. For instance, petty things like spelling errors or poor grammar and punctuation. If you get these wrong, even if the content of the report is quite sound, your credibility is undermined. It just appears unprofessional and the work appears quite shoddy. So make sure you get all those hygiene factors correct. Frequently, people like to use these long sentences and not use full stops. Guys, full stops are not in short supply. You're allowed to use full stops. And yes, commas are important, but sometimes splitting up an issue, which is quite complex or long, into 2 or 3 different sentences communicates it a lot more clearly than summing it up in one long paragraph. A user finds it difficult to hold on to information that builds on itself. Be careful also of excessive use of acronyms. And this is a double-edged sword. Frequently, acronyms may be understood within your own company, but an external party looking at the report may not understand what those acronyms are. So for key acronyms that are generally acceptable, absolutely go ahead. But be careful if your report gets loaded with all sorts of acronyms which a user may not be familiar with. So just some generic stuff in terms of increasing it. Check and proofread your report. With the software we have these days, this is a no-brainer. It does it for you. You need to check and proofread your report. And sometimes you might need to park the report overnight because you've been looking at it for too long and you can't pick up your own mistakes. And simply look at it when you're fresh and you'll pick up mistakes you've made that you couldn't pick up previously. Just closing the loop on your thinking. If you start a train of thought, you need to conclude it. You can't leave it hanging in the air for the reader to conclude it on your behalf. So you've got to be explicit, and if you follow or begin a train of thought, make sure you conclude and you close your line of thinking. Be careful of assumptions about what the reader knows. We all know what assumptions are the mother of. Be very, very careful of those. And if you make assumptions about what the reader knows, make sure those are fair assumptions to make. Otherwise, there'll be a loss of understanding and a dilution of the effectiveness of the report. Also be careful of vague statements. I'll use an example. To support business enablement. What does that mean? It's very, very vague. Rather be very, very specific as to what aspects of the business this particular intervention or decision is going to make in that report. All those issues are very, very low-hanging fruit that can dramatically increase the quality, the effectiveness, and the clarity of the reports that you're drafting.